How good is Artemisia going to be in 2023? Now, we know that she's going to be quite meta in terms of Garrison paired with Amanitore against the infantry rally meta that's coming up involving Tariq and Sargon. But then, even in terms of field battles, Artemisia is preferred by a lot of people as their second commander to their Boudica Prime. Now, in my case, I actually use my Artemisia as a primary to my Tomyris. But in terms of Tomyris, we know that a lot of high kill point players actually use Tomyris. But generally speaking, they tend to prefer their Gilgamesh as a primary to their Tomyris rather than the Artemisia. But I normally use the Artemisia primary, and the reason why I like that is because Artemisia has that thing where she kind of stops her skill cycle and she does a little bit of a silence to herself, and that actually to me feels like she gives a bit more of a chance to Tomyris to put on couple more poison stacks. And at the same time, I believe that Tomyris is a little bit more tanky, especially with the defense tree and so on. But then when it comes to the Gilgamesh, the problem that I see is because he has a skill talent tree that doesn't necessarily help a lot in terms of the Tomyris debuffs. And then secondly, I think he's not just tanky enough, but overall, there are some benefits with the Gilgamesh as well, because the Gilgamesh does do a little bit of a healing debuff. I mean, not a healing debuff, but when your commander's healed, then he kind of does a bit of a debuff, and that helps in certain situations, especially because nowadays a lot of commanders has a little bit of heal here and there. It's not just the Richard and what's his name, Constantine anymore. But anyways, in terms of the battle, as you can see, what we're doing is I got my 5 marches out. In the first instance, I have Gilgamesh and Tomyris, and the other marches are the typical marches that I would use. And Captain Jack over here, our friend, is using the same 5 marches for the couple times that we're gonna try doing this. So we are going to do a 5 versus 5. I'm gonna try to target the same troops that I've been targeting, or same marches in an order, and Captain Jack is going to try doing the same. Basically, what we're trying to measure is which one of these combinations, whether it be Gilgamesh and Tomyris or whether it be Artemisia and Tomyris, which one of these combinations will leave us with more troops on the field. Because in both cases, I think my troops are gonna win. I had that feeling because Captain Jack's commanders are pretty decent. His equipment, this is probably a little worse than mine. And then at the same time, yeah, I think the skill damage skin may be a little bit even better outside KvK compared to the 8% defense city skin. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, I had a feeling we are going to win, and we did. Now, what we are going to compare is how many troops have I got left. Since I won the battle, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win the next one as well. So I just thought I just calculate how many troops are remaining in terms of, you know, my out of my 5 marches. So I was taking out 100,000 each at the start, and this is what's remaining. So out of the 500,000, I have 164,000 something remaining, which is 33% of my total troops remaining at the end of the battle. Now what we're going to do is bring out every single march exactly the same, and we're only going to change out the Gilgamesh and bring in an Artemisia, which I think is going to do better, as I mentioned, for a few reasons. Firstly, because of her being a little bit more tanky. Secondly, her doing a bit more of an AoE, and how her silence kind of, I believe, works well with the Tomyris as well. I don't know why a lot of people doesn't use it. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe we'll find out in this field fighting testing that we're doing. Maybe rather than winning, I'm going to lose this battle, and then we don't even have to care about the numbers. Then we know Gilgamesh is the clear winner. Now, the reason why we're kind of talking about it, there's two sort of reasons. Firstly, because I mean, a lot of people may have both Artemisia and Gilgamesh. So in a way, you get to choose which one you're using. Maybe out of this video, if that's a dilemma that you had. And the other situation is, if you're kind of new to Season of Conquest, then Gilgamesh is a more of a newer commander and easy to access because of the wheel, and Artemisia is harder to kind of get because MGE. There are a few other ways you can get Artemisia because she's older as well, but they're not as accessible as Gilgamesh. So if you're kind of thinking which commander you are going to go for, then I always strongly recommended Artemisia. But then, you know what, that's based on not necessarily testing. And speaking of testing, this is not necessarily scientific testing either, but then this is a worthwhile check in terms of in which direction these fightings are going. Now I'm just doing one battle each. If I did more, then obviously it'll be more accurate, but then this is not about, I guess, making the most scientific testing. As I explained in my previous videos as well, we kind of have to kill troops, fill hospital and all that, and I'm just trying to do it in a fun way and try to get some numbers for you at the same time as well. Now that I finally managed to change my equipment and then we are ready to fight, let's get started. Now I'm trying the same thing as I mentioned, trying to kind of go for the marches that I have been going for all along. So generally speaking, I normally go for the XY first, just because the XY is a little soft usually, generally, and then I normally try to go for either Nevsky or Boudica, as in, you know, the top commanders that does a lot to us. Going for a Guan or Scipio, I mean, going for none of these commanders is actually a bad idea, because all of them are, you know, kind of meta commanders that does a lot. Now Captain Jack has been its little tiny bit slow in terms of clicking on the next target, but I hope that's not I guess detrimental in terms of what's happening here in the battle, because he kind of did that in the first battle as well. And maybe his connection, actually I know that his connection isn't the best, because he's not in the city, he's like some sort of retreat or something with the wife, you know, the rich people stuff that, you know, people go through. But anyways, what we're looking at the moment is, I think there's a good chance I'm going to be left with 3 marches as well, like a little bit of 3 marches. That's exactly what happened last time as well. So I think I need to have a conversation with Captain Jack about his talent trees and equipment choices and all that, for which, by the way, we have a lot of guides. So he needs to start following them a little bit. Maybe then, you know, the battles are going to be a little bit closer. But either way, oh, Scipio and Harold. Okay, so it's a good thing that I have been targeting that last, because that does a lot of damage. But anyways, now that we have come to the conclusion, let's see, hospital almost full. All right, we're getting there. Now what we need to do is just count the numbers. So in the background, I'm doing the calculations for you. So 50,000, 55, 73. What do you guys think? Which combination would give us more troops remaining? I have a feeling that it's going to be the Tomyris. Now let's see in the comments field if you guys can tell us what do you guys think before I reveal the numbers on the screen. And then, well, too late now. Now I have the numbers on the screen. So 178,000, which is 36% of what my original troops was. So in a way, this march, I think makes sense to me. I mean, there could be a lot of other factors going on, but then to me, Artemisia and Tomyris is a better choice than the Gilgamesh. I do have a max Gilgamesh, as you just saw, but I kind of don't bring out the Gilgamesh in field anymore. Obviously, he's going to be OP if you're using a Gilgamesh and Henry, or Henry or Gilgamesh when you're rallying. And I want to thank Captain Jack again for participating in these battles. Now we do hope to bring out more of these battles to you in the near future, battle test and so on. So be subscribed, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one.